We're doing a huge contest. Want to let you guys know we're doing a gigantic contest right now with the music app that we've been working with for the good part of this year, Symbol. They're a fantastic app where you can share music that you're listening to, get turned on to music that other people are listening to. Works a lot like Instagram, but instead of sharing pictures, you're sharing songs. We've run a few giveaways with these guys before, but this one is the biggest one. And it's partially in honor of the fact that they have put out an Android version of their app as well. Information down there in the description. Hit that link, follow me. All you have to do to be eligible for this contest to win is that you have to be following me on the app and you have to make a post on your account using hashtag the needle drop, and then you have to share that post to a Twitter account, a Facebook account, or an Instagram account. And once you do that, you will be put in the running to randomly be chosen to win 3 separate packages. We have a rap bunch. We have kind of a rock, loud rock, bunch. And we've got a little indie bunch. Each winner will also be winning a TND slip mat for their turntable, 6 months of Spotify Premium, a Symbol t-shirt, and a pair of AKG K240s, my personal go-to headphone set. Anybody who is following me is eligible to win. You just have to make that post on Symbol using hashtag the needle drop, and then share that to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. And we're going to run this contest until we essentially get 15,000 of those posts from you guys. So, good luck to all of you who post. I hope you win, and looking forward to giving away this stuff because I know it's going to be really exciting to whoever gets it. Cool? So again, you see the info on the screen. Also, info down there in the description box to download the Symbol app and the video.
Hey everyone, Destiny List Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And you know where we are. It's 2016, it's the halfway point of the year. 6 months from now, I'm going to be coming out with my best albums, a 2016 list, telling you my favorite records of the year. But still, we're 6 months away. We got a little bit of time before that happens. But for now, I can tell you guys what my favorite albums of the year so far are. With these 15 records I have listed right here, and they're listed in no particular order, okay? This is not a top 15 list, no particular order. And all those other records that I gave positive reviews earlier this year, I still like them. I still think they're good. They'll probably turn up on my list at the back end of the year when I do my top 50 records. But these are just my 15 favorites so far. Let's go with the first record in the list here. We have Weezer with the White Album. Weezer really came back with a sweet power pop vengeance on this record. Incredibly catchy songs. Still that same teenage angst there, but by Weezer standards, the record is very tasteful. They really kind of went back to their roots on the Blue album. It's not too commercial. It's not super trashy. It's got loads of just infectious hooks and anthemic guitar leads and that heavy, thick alt-rock, nerd rock guitar sound that is their trademark is back. Sounds fantastic. And when I heard it, I just had nothing but praise for this album. Sure, it's nothing altogether new for Weezer, but they're doing what they're known for doing very well, which unfortunately for the past decade or so has just not been the case. Just so many Weezer albums just missed the mark. And now it seems like in the internet age now, with rock being as irrelevant as it is, they are now free to just kind of, do whatever the hell they want to do without pandering to a wider audience, a radio audience. They can really play to the people who gave a shit about their music from the start, and I love it. Moving on from there, a strange electronic music album, which includes some very creative sampling, as usual, from the duo known as Matmos. This is a bit of an abstract, glitchy, very cerebral, IDM-ish record where for the entirety of the album, the duo samples a washing machine. and it is quite musical, is quite textured, very colorful, very entertaining. To me, sounds like I'm listening to a machine, but a very musical machine. You know, there are only a few points where it sounds like you're listening to just a washing machine. You know, for as weird as the concept is, I think a lot of the points on this record are sort of accessible if you're into electronic music. You know, if you're just looking for something poppy and straightforward, maybe this isn't for you. But if you're looking for something a little more adventurous on the electronic music spectrum, but still has a good sense of fun to it, you know, because it's not like this is a super self-serious record. You know, the duo is very conscious of how weird the idea of sampling a washing machine is. So there is a feel of playfulness to this record. I also got to give a shout out to Segall for the album Emotional Mugger. Love this record. One of my favorite rock records of the year. Very fuzzy, scuzzy, sunburnt, distorted, lo-fi as hell. His influences from the psych and garage spectrum come together beautifully against some of the roughest and I guess most ear-grating production he's ever laid onto record. And it's so interesting because his last couple of records just seem so clean by comparison, and now he's just kind of boomeranged back into the depths of lo-fi hell on this album, and I'm loving it. Next, one of the best kind of pop rock records with a little bit of punk and new wave mixed in there I've heard this year, the new Lemon Demon album, Spirit Phone, which has some of the most amazingly catchy songs I've heard this year, creative song subjects. I guess I couldn't have really expected this to be anything but good. I mean, this is coming from the same guy who came through with some of my favorite mashup albums of all time not too long ago. And this venture over here is no less creative. I like all of the themes of death and space and spirituality and whatever is really kind of flying through Neil's head on this album. And the guitar lines, the synth lines, the lead vocals on the hooks here, all sharp and very memorable. The production is a little rough. I mean, it's obviously a DIY effort, but still the record comes through as punchy, fun, and has a lot of personality too. This next record is from one of my favorite bands out of Australia right now, the album Feelin' Kinda Free from the Drones. The band really expanded their sound on this record. At points, it's almost like they're making art rock and experimental rock, a little bit of post-rock, not just simply the psych and blues punk that they're known for. Some of the tracks on here are quite dreary, and there's some amazing just wide panoramic displays of instrumentation on this record too. From what I understand, some of the guys in Civil Civic had a hand in producing this one, and it definitely shows because there are some synthetic elements that work their way into the mix here. This thing is heavy, it's heartbreaking, and it's also more ambitious, I think, than anything the band has done in the past. This next record is another one of the best records of the year in my opinion. However, this album came very close to a tragedy for modern music, and that is the death of David Bowie. Of course, I'm talking about David Bowie's final record, Blackstar. While it is sad that the great David Bowie is no longer with us, you have to admire the fact that there's just few in any industry who get the opportunity to go out the way that David Bowie did, and that is essentially come together with an album, a bit of a concept album that reflects on his death. Before he died, he was singing about his fame, his iconic image, how people would receive his death, being in heaven, and a myriad of different things. It's an incredibly sad and just, I don't know, gut-wrenching record when I listen to this thing and I sort of come to the realization that, man, he just was on the threshold of death as he was writing this album, and it's almost as if he knew his time was up and he needed to get this out as some kind of final message. Within the context of all this, the album is pretty chilling, but even if you subtract the record out of all of the death background and everything, it is cool to hear David Bowie experimenting a little bit again and going back to his art rock glory and embracing some kind of occult themes too. This next record is not exactly original, but nonetheless amazing. It is Shoo Shoo, plays the music of Twin Peaks. Experimental rock band, art rock band, art punk band, Shoo Shoo post-punk band. They're back, and apparently the band at one point had been commissioned to redo a series of pieces from the infamous Twin Peaks soundtrack. If you're not familiar with the Twin Peaks television series, please take the time to binge watch it on your nearest streaming platform. And if there's one thing that's amazing about the television series, it is the music. And Shushu do an amazing job of translating the music on this record for the modern age. You know, the interpretations, the liberties that they take with these songs make them so much heavier, noisier, freakier, scarier, more chilling. I can only hope that with the Twin Peaks series getting rebooted at some point this decade, that they use some of the music on this thing, because it is quite disturbing. And I also like that they were able to take the music from the series and actually compound it down into a listenable album format. You know, it doesn't just simply feel like I'm listening to a random compilation of soundtrack songs. You know, they really sequenced this record and progressed and groomed the song so that it flowed very well as an album experience. Though the ending is quite strange, comes out of nowhere a little bit. And next, a record that has no ending, really. It's another Australian rock record this year. It is the new King Gizzard record, Nonagon Infinity. A punky, fast, adrenaline-pumping, psych rock and garage rock record that has no real beginning and has no real end. All the songs like sequence into one another very tightly and very fluidly, so you can literally listen to this album forever. And each track, even though there are different movements on the record, they all come together into one cohesive piece. So again, it's like I'm being locked into this psych rock octagon, and it's just spinning into infinity. So not only is the concept on this record cool, but the performances are great, the writing is great. I like that there's more nuance to the instrumentation on this record. It seemed like the band was pulling from what they had learned and what they had picked up on their last record, which was an all-acoustic project. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this thing other than that it's a hell of a lot of fun. And now a record that is not fun at all, very sad, very depressing, the most depressing record in this band's discography, in my opinion, the new Radiohead record, A Moon-Shaped Pool. This thing is a sad, subtle, very quiet, dreary experience. The acoustic guitars, the piano songs, the space, the loneliness, the depression, it's all hard-hitting. This is a soul-crushing, introspective, quiet time, I'm by myself kind of record, which I guess is not surprising from Radiohead. The band for sure has always kind of had the potential to do an album like this, and now it seems like they're finally sort of giving themselves permission to do so. Really kind of toy simply with your emotions. They're not really touching their listeners on a physical level or on a visceral level on this record in any way, shape, or form, which I think they were kind of distancing themselves from anyway with their last record, The King of Limbs, which was very electronic and rigid and stiff. This album, though, much more emotional, though not as punchy, again, not as physical, but it's just really, it gets in there and it just tears it all apart. Another record that is torn apart emotionally, but is much more crazy, tantrum-like about it, is the new Car Seat Headrest record, Teens of Denial. And on this album, I essentially listened to the band's frontman, Will Toledo, go through an early, 20s, late teens crisis. A lot of good tracks on here that poignantly paint a picture of how unsure young adulthood can be, and translates this angst and translates this anxiety through some well-written songs with progressive song structures and some cool instrumental breaks. I think his vocals sound a little bit better too, a little more passionate. I just like listening to this kid's emotional breakdown. And something a little more chill in my favorites list over here, the new Marissa Nadler record, Strangers. Marissa Nadler's, in my opinion, her best set of songs on record yet, and some really awesome instrumentation as well. No longer are her songs super stripped back, super skeletal. We have some beautiful arranged and just guest instrumentation surrounding her very wintry, mystical songwriting style. And her vocals really shining through better as well. I think the lyrical component to this record is stronger than it has been on her past material. If you're looking for something soft, melodic, and a little icy, then give this thing a shot. Getting to the end of the list here, a couple more. I want to give a shout out to Kendrick Lamar's Untitled, Unmastered. Kendrick Lamar, an album of B-sides, and it's better than most artists full-length albums. It was just kind of cool to hear these extra tracks where Kendrick Lamar is still kind of toying with the soul and the jazz and the funk that was so prominent on his last album, To Pimp a Butterfly. A lot of tracks on here that wouldn't have necessarily fit into the concept of that record, but nonetheless they were good songs, so it was good to record them even if the recording was rough and demo quality, and get them out there to the public. Again, even though this thing sounds a little muddy, there are a lot of highlights on here, and there are a lot of pros to this project. I mean, Kendrick Lamar's verses, his performances are great. The instrumentation is great. If you didn't like To Pimp a Butterfly, chances are you're not going to like this, but I enjoyed that record, so this is still going to end up on my favorites list of the year because I thought it was good. Another rap record from the West Coast that I thought was great, YG's Still Brazy. This dude surprised me on this project. As an MC, as a lyricist, he was so unimpressive on his last record, and not that he's getting super poetic on this new album over here. It's just that his songs are way more topical, and he's come through with way more personality, catchier flows. Not only that, but I like the production of this record and how it comes together into this really cohesive tribute to 90s G-Funk from California. You can really hear the Dr. Dre and the Snoop and the NWA influence on a lot of these tracks, and he translates all of it tastefully with some good songs, and some good features land on this thing as well. Gotta give a shout out to Death Grips for their latest album, Bottomless Pit. Experimental hip-hop trio. You know them, you love them, you hate them, you meme them. Death Grips, coming through with what I think is one of the catchiest records in their discography, next to The Money Store. To some people, they've said that they think this record is catchier than The Money Store. In my opinion, I don't know, it's yet to be seen, but I love that they were able to kind of go back to that Money Store sound while bringing back and incorporating all of the cool production tricks and experiments that they've been toying with over their last several projects. You know, this thing is really kind of a culmination of all the madness that Death Grips has delivered unto us over the past 6 years or so. Not quite as adventurous or boundary breaking as I would like from Death Grips, but it's cool that they were able to take the sound that essentially they helped establish as a staple in underground hip-hop right now and really continue to expand it and make it sound, mind-crushingly, I'm addicted to this shit. And finally, gotta give it to Swans for The Glowing Man. Great freaking record. And a cool finish to the trilogy of their last 3 albums. Super huge, spacey, panoramic, instrumentally dense project. It's 2 hours long, but don't let that stop you. This thing is very psychedelic. It's very meditative, not quite as hard-hitting and punchy as their last couple of albums in this very repetitive, hypnotic, groovy rock style that they've been toying with over the past couple of years, but still enjoyed the record quite a bit. It's just more of a cerebral experience from Swans. So loving this and looking forward to where the band takes their sound next in whatever their next incarnation is going to be. Now, those are my 15 favorite albums of 2016 so far. What have your favorite albums of the year been thus far? And yeah, that's all I got to say to you guys. I hope you have a nice day. And whatever of these albums you have not heard, I hope you take the time to check them out if my description of them is interesting to you. Of course, songs from these records and reviews of these records are linked down there in the description. Bah! Transition. Have you given these albums a listen? Are they some of your favorites of the year? If so, how much did you like them? What albums that I have reviewed are you pissed off didn't make it into the list? Nails or Beyonce, are you mad? Sorry. You're the best. Thanks for watching. Love you forever.